Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. How are we all doing? I hope everybody is well. Thank you to all my subscribers, and thank you to everybody that has been supporting my channel. I'm going to do my best to unpack what I can of the truth of what's going on with this Essex Boys story. It is quite astonishing how much untoward, let's put it like that, untoward conduct and behavior is going on in it. Now, if you are not interested in any way in the case or me or anything like that, then feel free to sign off. But it isn't just about this particular three murders of three Essex boys in 1995. It is really about the truth. And the truth is important to all of us. And this is really what I'm all about and why I'm here. Because the truth is in our heart and the truth is in our soul. And the truth is often said out of the mouths of babes. I can hear the kids running around outside my office. But I know that a lot of people will go, oh, why is everybody harping on about this Essex Boys case still? However, I also know that an awful lot of people do care. And some people are actually really obsessed by it. And why does everybody care? So people have different levels of care and different levels of consumption of what's been going on with this particular case, that the general reason that everybody is still talking about it is because the truth has not come out. It's not been spoken about, but an awful lot of movies, books, and an awful lot of money's been made out of it for a start. And an awful lot of people have been talking about it on the media stage and on podcasts and in books and all kinds of things. So this whole story has been playing out. Why do I care? Why the hell should I be talking about it? Well, I am an Essex girl for starters, born and bred. And I was the barmaid at Raquel's when this all happened. Me and my best mate, Cal. And I was also a raver in the Essex scene, and I knew lots of these people, and there was lots going on at the time. So I came into the story at the start, but it is just one story and some incidents that happened back in 1995. But there is so much truth that has not come out and so much injustice around it that it becomes symbolic and significant even more because of that level of corruption and injustice being something that an awful lot of people have been dealing with the impact of that in so many different ways, in so many different incidents and circumstances, and in their life. We are in a world that the law has been an ass. The police system has been corrupted from the core and been corrupt for many years. There's a real old guard of corruption in our society. Fortunately, we are seeing the downfall and the comeuppance and the karma serving for many of these people. And that is just how life works. Karma is a real thing. I 100% believe in it. But I am reaching out to all the people generally that care about truth. And even if you're not interested in this, bit of a blurredness going on there. One thing I would like to say is the a glorification of crime and criminal activity and the um the abuse really of people that I'm seeing still going on, and how kind of laughing about doing really horrible things and violent things and criminal things are really, really not funny. You know, we're not children anymore. And unfortunately, many people came from some really tough upbringings that has left them as children in vulnerable states. So, as I've come to this, I'm just going to reach out to you, Brian, um, and unpack a little bit about what's been going on with Brian Richardson, aka Brian Rolfe, who is the brother of Craig Rolfe, one of the Essex boys. Now I haven't read Brian's book, and do you want to send me a copy? Signed copy. Go on. I would love to read it, and I will read it. But I haven't read his book, but I have watched the few podcasts that he has done recently. And I have to say that in general, my heart actually goes out to Brian, sexually abusing the care system. Craig, my heart goes out to Craig as well. Craig was born in Holloway, and they had an awful mother, and that, and mm, my heart bleeds. Not, my heart bleeds for you, but I'm not being getting the violins out or anything like that. But I do totally appreciate and know and understand the effects that this kind of upbringing and the level of crime and poverty and these things lead to children being groomed and brought into a level of crime, and especially when mothers are using their children in the worst possible ways, and fathers. And so, first of all, I want to say, Brian, I've had a long time of dealing with media manipulation, narcissism, and the understanding of cause and effect and why these things happen and why people behave the way they are. Um, there's an awful lot of shame involved in the things that have been done that are really bad by people that have conscience, and then by those that are psychologically disordered and are lost in their illusion of the fantasy that they make in their head. These are the people that have no shame and are very dangerous, really, to society. And when I see the level of, so I just clicked on earlier to have a quick look before I went and started recording on the Criminal Connection podcast hosted by Terry Stone. Um, and was awful the way it was going in and Brian. It was not a debate. It was not talking about things. It was laughing at how they reckon that Craig wanted to kill his brother like it's that kid does outside. So they could be going that way. It wouldn't surprise me. That's a whole nother story about that anyway. Um, their children and angry children and all of these things need to be protected. And the, when all of this was going on, these lads were still, Craig was in his 30s. So they're in their 30s, dealing with Was that right? No, it was Tony in his 30s, wasn't it? Craig was Craig younger? Correct me in the comments, tell me. Anyway, the young lads, and for people to say that his brother went in and drugged him. Now we're in a 2024 situation where we're dealing with all of everything coming out about Diddy, and how he has been drugging and doing the worst possible crimes in the worst possible ways. The lawsuits are horrifying, just actually horrifying, and doing these things to people in, you know, yeah, I'm not saying that Craig was about to sexually assault, obviously, but he was about to do, they're saying that he was about to do worse to his brother. Now, unfortunately, this happens, and it's not a laughing matter at all. It really serious. And how? So are we saying that the police were watching Craig and somehow Bernie knows that Craig was going in there to try and take his life? And then we have Lee Chapman, Terry Stone, and Bernard O'Mahony sitting on a stage with their shiny filter faces and heads, thinking that's funny. It's just these are 60-year-old guys are laughing about somebody trying to take a brother trying to thinking about taking somebody else's life and drugging somebody. It's not funny. It really isn't funny. And so it's really, really unsavory and disgusted and disgraceful human beings that can sit on the stage, talk about somebody who's lost his brother, and been scapegoated, and, and gone through some pretty horrifying and traumatic stuff that I would not like to have gone through. And nobody would. And then to sit there mocking him on the stage is just vile, really vile. And I was really think it's incredibly horrifying that anybody is not seeing how awful that is, whatever you want to say. Now, there's an awful lot of lies that have gone on in this, and an awful lot of people that have got fear and from speaking out and saying things. And I really, really want to reach out to the guys, all guys, like younger, older. I'm not ageist in any way, but I do believe that when you're in your 20s, you may be doing things that you wouldn't be doing in your 30s or you wouldn't be doing in your 40s and really don't want to be doing in your 50s. And I'm seeing a level of aggression in some people that is just horrifying. So I want to reach out to the guys and go, when you're seeing this kind of stuff, what we need to do is not play into the fight because there's a blatant online fight that's just continuing, a never-ending story of an awful lot of words and keyboard warriors and words being thrown around. And Brian is the only person that I have seen that says he wants to get in the room with everybody. Brian, I would love to talk to you. Like we can, we're not gonna, we're not going to talk rubbish or get into any trouble or anything, but I do think that it would be a lovely coming together of us just to have a little chat, and then we can put it out if you're happy with it. And I don't think having a Zoom chat for an hour is going to harm us at this stage. I think the audience would like to see it, and I really would say, like, do not let anybody put you in fear. And I know reach out to your wife as well and say, you know, these people are really, really do just work on this fear factor. And if if people want to hurt us or are threatening people, then they need to be reported to some good, decent, honest policemen. And I know, God, can we find them? But yeah, like we cannot have these kind of threats, intimidation, bullying, keyboard warrior tactics. Um, I would like to make sure that everybody stays safe. I'm safeguarding Sasha. Everyone stays safe, and we all heal from the trauma of this ongoing um manipulation of people's love, care, and truth. This deliberate and calculated um, shutdown of the truth is very covert. There is an awful lot of narcissism involved in how these manipulation tactics work. And what they do is shine the light on where we need to be looking. And that is the case with this case and many other cases that are linked to this one, and many other cases that have been shut down by police. Now, I am a victim and witness to the understanding that when the police shut something down, you're bashing your head against a brick wall to try and get them to do any kind of detective work, investigative work, or um, look into suspicious circumstances. And I would never have believed this could have happened until my brother-in-law's death. Now, my brother-in-law was first seen coming in against the tide on Shore and Beach. The first witness that saw him coming in, said he was alive, coming against the tide, so he was obviously alive. The second witness was standing over him when he died. And when the police got to him, only 20 minutes later, maybe 10 minutes later, um, they pronounced it a suicide pretty much. Within 3 minutes, there was like no suspicious circumstances. So they weren't saying it was suicide, but they were saying it was accidental death or that. And they were saying no suspicious circumstances within 3 minutes of seeing his body with the other guy over the beach. 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Now, it is impossible to know that. Actually impossible. You don't know if the guy's been drugged. You don't know what's gone on. You have no. And I'm 4 years down the line to this. Now, I understand that for them to shut that down within 3 minutes is highly suspicious in itself. And so when you can see that things are not quite right, and we're dealing with a lot of these kind of cases in our society. So we're on the back of Liam Payne, and how they've broken the hearts of all the One Direction fans in the world, and they're all broken-hearted, just like we have been for many, many celebrities. Suspicious deaths are suspicious deaths, and since my brother-in-law's death, I have come into contact and for all kinds of different reasons with people that have similar stories of deaths that have happened, whether they be said to be suspicious, but they've not been found to who was the actual culprits. To other ones that have been palmed off as either overdoses or taking of own life. And there is strong reason to believe that that is not the case, but there is a refusal by the system or the police to look at these things. And then you can see when there's a manipulation of the story, so a narrative, a specific narrative that's being put out by whoever the master manipulators are behind these suspicious things going on, a narrative that gets put out. Now, in that narrative is is the understanding of, well, who's doing the narrative, why it's being put out like that, and that is when you go in as an actual detective, an investigative person, you can actually start to kind of see, right, who's in control, and that is where you will start to unravel the story. Now, first of all, we have to go in this situation, who was there, man, who knows, who has a level of different level of understanding to those online that are just picking up different things. Because believe you me, I and all of us have been fed all kinds of media narrative that can be completely um, either one-sided or made up by the perpetrators or put out for a reason. And this whole Leah Betts situation and the whole ecstasy story and everything that went on with that is, in my humble opinion, a blatant manipulation of the truth from the start. And 100% this narrative is linked to the Essex boys' death 3 weeks later. It's also linked to me being raided the week before Leah's party. And it's level of um link. It is all linked. Anybody that's going, That's not linked," and don't talk about that, and everybody needs to not look in that direction. My best advice to you is look in the direction that they're telling you to not look in. And that's where the truth lies, in often the shadows. And that's the truth actually is in all of our hearts. And the reason that so many people care about this particular case and there's such a big audience, one, because it's been built up by the movies and the books and all of this. Two, that there was sensational deaths. And from Leah Betts to the Essex boys, it never really got out the press. Paul Betts went on to spend 20 years campaigning against the devil, the demon, that is ecstasy. And that how one little pill might leave you in the way that his just turned 18-year-old daughter. This whole play, this whole narrative, he went on for 20 years going into schools, scaring children. Oh, yes, he did. Scaring children about ecstasy. Meanwhile, Red Bull made millions out of the Sorted campaign. What was the Sorted campaign? The Sorted campaign was Leah Betts's face sorted. And this was supposed to be to put everybody off ecstasy while moving Red Bull into the clubs. And I don't know if anybody remembers about the fact that when Red Bull first came on the scene, the first energy drink, a vodka and Red Bull was known as Liquid Speed. And I remember this whole time very, very, very well. And I, energy drinks, I will say here now, I believe to be at the root of an awful lot of evil, along with other very well-known drinks. I will direct everybody to go and watch Adam Freeland, We Want Your Soul, uncensored version on his link tree on his Twitter. Adam Freeland, shout out to you. What an absolute legend. Uh, he knows exactly why and how this music game works, or my music game works. And the music game is just a another game, another industry that is intrinsically and intertwined in high level money games, high level corruption, and energy drinks are really bad for you. Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Now, I'm not going to go on about any particular brands here right now because woo, we know what brands they are. There's some scary monster ones and there's some primeval ones. And there's some red devil ones that are coming charge to get you. You know? So, if you get me, I'm telling you now, they have been taken and given and consumed by many, many children. We have an obesity crisis in our world, especially or specifically in the Western world, from the States to the UK, obesity crisis. Um, when did this start to happen? Well, I'm telling you now, in 1995, there wasn't the level of obesity in the UK that there is now. And I used to be shocked by going to the States to see how much uh, of the cola that was being consumed and the energy drinks and all of this kind of thing and the amount of obesity there is in the States, unfortunately. And I actually went out with a guy called TJ in the Disney for 2.5 weeks in 2000. And his dad was a doctor, and he said the most common thing in Florida coming into his dad's doctor's surgery was for people that could no longer walk due to obesity, and their shins and their bottoms of their legs were giving up basically, and they couldn't walk anymore because of the amount of sugar and shite that have been consumed. And it's not funny. It's just like people were programmed, McDonald's and all of their thing to programmed to consume absolute dire shite. So going back before I go off in a tangent, Red Bull was behind the Sorted campaign, and so that came into the clubs. And ecstasy was demonized, and Paul Betts was at the head of that campaign, and he was a Met police officer, and none of these things are coincidences. And that's the truth of it. Now, I do not like bullying of Brian or anyone. The kind of bullying that's been going on towards me is very see-through because I'm one of those people that because I was a pay-three girl since 98, I'm kind of used to like a level of trolling that can happen when people want to discredit you or shut you down or shut you up. And a level of understanding from looking after many, many DJs in my life, what it's like when they go from zero to hero, become famous, and how much that audience can be kind of a very polar opposite. A load of people that love you, a load of people that are jealous of you, a load of people that just kind of nonchalant. It's an all kind of audience, but when there is a level of jealousy and manipulation out there and a level of fame, you always get a level of different kinds of people. My mum always used to say there's nothing so queer as folk. So a different level of people that can come in and try and troll you. When I started up my radio station in 2011, and it got quite pretty big for the first year, Ideal Club World, and I had all kinds of trolls come in. I had Anonymous come in. It was a very, very interesting time that really helped me understand the levels of the web and who's on the good side and who's on the bad side. And I've been really, really learning that very much in my ideal club world, ice stream radio world, online world, media world, and in my crazy badass mental world that I do kind of sit in because it's been a pretty interesting ride, I have to say, and it continues to be interesting. I have no fear like of demons. Those of a pure heart cannot be touched by the devil. And those that are confessing their sins and are walking on the good path of good will be protected. I know this. I know other, it can sound a bit fancy and la la, but this is what's protected me. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm okay. That's why I'm talking to you. That's why I'm not affected by these agents of Satan, as you might say, who will come and try and hurt you because nothing could have taught me more than the last 4 years has taught me since my brother-in-law's death, since the police knocked on my door to tell us he was dead. And an awful lot of other different cases that have been happening over the last 4 years that have been a great awakening for me and have taught me so much about where people's levels of morality are, respect are. One of the big things in my life that has taught me respect is a real level of protection, of understanding how people talk to people and how people treat people. When you're dealing with Facebook groups and online groups and murder cases and massive crime networks and drug dealing and prostitution and little girls' deaths and ongoing other linked deaths and everything. And when you're dealing with these kind of things, it's really, really, really serious. And and so that level of seriousness needs to be understood. And it's incredibly traumatizing, incredibly fearful for many people. But what I do know is that there is so many awakening wonders and enlightening wonders. I have come into touch with some amazing people, some absolutely amazing people over the last 4 years. I've also come into touch with some absolute demons, had to like deal with the worst horribleness, deal with some real personal, horrifying trauma and tragedy. I've been shut down by the music industry, gatekeepers and demons who know I know too much. People have tried to discredit me, attack me. I had an attempt on my life, and I was left literally having to fight for my life. But that took me on a journey of going, I have no fear, I'm still here. Yeah, and I know sometime one of the things that's really taught me, like I've dealt with a lot of mafia, a lot of gangsters, a lot of people that have done wrong in the past and seen the light, and other people that have still doing wrong. But and and you also have to like deal with people like the BBC and all kinds of journalists and all kinds of people that are all on their path. And I really am happy to have been gravitating to interesting people that are on that path of God's work. And but I have also lost many, many people. Um, Loss is part of life, and I have cried oceans and been astounded. No, I can try not to cry now, but I have been astounded by so many people that I've known so many years. I'm 50 years old, but so many people that I've known for so many years and just gone or just seem to have no value in relationships and love and kind of some people that got stuck, and many people that, really haven't woken up to the whole agenda, and that the doctors haven't always got the answers, and that we're sovereign beings and we can look, we know ourselves better than anybody. And so I have lost many people, and I've lost financially, and then I got to a point where I've got absolutely nothing to lose apart from, well, no, and what I mean by that probably is financially. So, like, there's some really horrible people that can kind of really scare you, like, go, oh, I'm going to sue you for £1 million. I'm like, can't get blood out of a stone, mate. And so they can need, like, fear. And I can't, like, so always look on the bright side of life. I came from nothing, going to nothing. What you got? Nothing. It's, I've been listening to Prince a lot, and he was, listen to the money track. It, it's, it does corrupt people, and the corruption involved in all of this whole many injustices that we're dealing with, like this Essex boy story. It's painful and it's traumatic for people to see. And the reason that we come together is because we're all about truth, and we're all about authentic truth, and we are getting over our traumas and coming together and trying to keep on push forward. And those things that's a magical thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's what brings true ecstasy and enlightenment to our hearts. Yeah, like when we're seeing people that have been doing awful things like Diddy being banged up and now sitting in a jail where he belongs to be, having done all horror and the network involved. In, yeah, we have right to feel good about that because he's not harming anybody. He's off the streets now. Yes, his network probably is, but we've got to keep plowing forward for this kind of justice and this kind of truth, and not entertaining people that are glorifying abuse, glorifying murder, glorifying, criminal profiteering. And I do genuinely believe there is a level of different levels of criminality. There's people that are committing crimes to survive, very much on that kind of theft and um, selling drugs. I know many people that sell drugs in my life. So there's many people that are doing that, but how that grooming line works, how that grooming gang works, how um, people doing the worst possible crimes at the top are still getting away with it, and the kids are just getting blamed, or the younger generation always gets blamed, while the other ones are, it's trafficking is a really bad problem in our society. The let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Level of discussion, and how guys need to understand that we are all sisters and daughters and mothers and grandmothers. And so anybody that you might be watching, or you're going to whoever's, I know there's many sex workers that will say that, they're happy to do it and it's much, they're all about that. But I don't think anybody would have put that as a career choice in their options when they were younger, if they thought there was a better alternative. And so understanding that this level of shame, this level of degrading women or bullying, I mean the unpleasantness towards me by some people that have been incited in, the Facebook groups. And I would like somebody in the comments, can somebody in the comments please tell me who the official moderators of the two main Essex Boys The Truth and the Essex Boys Murders groups are not the Essex Boys Random Range Rovers. I know that's Mark Griffith. I'm still in that group. But the other two groups, so who the official moderators are, because I was in a track group that had like David McKelvey and Jason Townsend, David, somebody else, David Bass, and I've been seen various things saying that I was chucked out of the groups because I said things about TMI Limited. Prove that, please. Can somebody prove that I have not that that wasn't what actually happened. Um, um, I did ask why David was lying to me, saying all kinds of rubbish that wasn't true. And suddenly, like, it was really, really untoward. And then all of these boys started going, no, don't say anything about David. Oh, they've been doing so much for this, for the case. Like, you're just a, after your 5 minutes of fame, and you're just, how dare you say anything about Albert and David? They've done so much. And I'm like, well, what? No, nobody's out. Nobody's had a pardon. Like, I don't believe Michael Steele and Jack Holmes pulled the triggers. They were up to no good, shall we say that? But that I don't believe they pulled the triggers. I think we all know that. Just the fact that the old bombster is just going on about as if he knows. It's just not true. And also, everybody needs to remember that this is how it works. Everybody knows about the firm. So the firm is a security firm. Security firm are bouncers, they are doormen, and the doormen have a rank of doormen working for each other. So all these people that were doormen, so the old bombster, the security firm at Raquel's, I believe, was the firm, and that's why Tony was in charge, and that's where that line. Mark Murray was the dealer at my bar. Bernie was controlling all of that, and Tony was above them, and that's how all the doorman works. So it's just like absolute nonsense. Everybody knows that's how it works on the ecstasy level. Now, on the Liam Tufts Brian podcast, it said the police killed the Essex boys. Mm, unlifed them or whatever, as it goes. I do believe the police had an awful lot to do with it, and we have got two ex-cops that seem to be like thinking they're the authority on the case. Albert's retired, and his wife doesn't really want him to be doing it. I don't blame her at all. This whole attack on me about me being horrible about TMI is absolute nonsense. And I love somebody to talk to me about it. And I would love any of the guys. I challenge any of you guys. I lay the gauntlet down. Any of you guys to get me in the room on the podcast and ask me anything. You know, like is it, I was there, um, and all kinds of stuff. I will tell what I know and do the right thing by the people doing right. And those who have guilt, shame, and dishonest and are continuing to be dishonest, and those people that are attacking people quite blatantly and being like how you shouldn't behave, and using Facebook groups and online and YouTube as some kind of uh, online playground for war of words. It's not the war of word. It's not the. It's not the war of the words. It's the war of words. And you know, I'm tired of it. We we will be getting to the truth. All those supporting Brian, I do genuinely think Brian's trying to do the right thing and trying to get to the truth. And there's something about when it's your brother, like, however horrible Craig was to him, Craig was like that because of what he was dealt with because of his mother and his no father, no, and all of these things. So when Craig lost his life, and all of these ascended souls who are just truth, souls are just truth. So I believe that Brian has a purpose in his lineage of being the scapegoat in his family, of wanting to know the truth, and it'll be like a kind of something that pecks on your head probably. Um, and all these other people that have been making money, like what I heard about Terry Stone phoning up John Holmes, John Holmes said, like, what are you doing this whole movie? And they weren't happy about it. And what Terry said to him, it's just disgraceful. I see you. Just oh, you sometimes humans are it's just really, really see-through and unrespectful to those that are actually involved. And Terry's just come into this as somebody playing Tony Tucker not very well. Sorry, that's my humble opinion, and I'm entitled to it. This Criminal Connection podcast. Sorry, but entertaining this kind of untoward stuff and glorifying crime and drugging people will be a recipe for your own karma. Just look what Diddy's been doing, and look what many other arrogant people who think that they can glorify this kind of stuff, how it's coming to them. So whether it comes to you in this life or the next life, it will happen. Karma is a bitch, mate. And then you die. So, have I got anything else to say about this? Yeah, so before I sign off, and I think I will go live on Friday at 6. And I might make that Friday at 6 a regular little hour. We'll see. We'll see what the audience says, if you would like that. Um, but before I go, if you wouldn't, then you don't have to tune in. Um, before I go, I would like to say this Essex Boys case, the deaths of these three guys, and also the death of Leah Betts. And there are also, and I know people that know this case well, there are other deaths that are linked. Uh, they, everybody wants to always think that they know the answer or know the truth. And I would really ask everybody to open your mind to look very carefully at people that say they know it all and say that it's closed shut case, and to look very closely at those people that try to discredit, and also those that have made their incomplete entire career out of things. Like, I have not got any actual beef, like, between me and Carlton, between me and Bernie, between me and any other crime networks. I have not done anything to upset anybody. Um, just the discrediting and the she's just after our 5 minutes of fame and nonsense is very see-through, and there's a reason for that. Like, if there were kind of respectful decent guys, they would not be behaving like that towards me or any other woman. And that really is a red flag for everybody to see, like, why is that happening? And it's not just me as a woman. No, respectful guys, gentlemen, and I mean gentlemen, do not um condone, facilitate, incite any of this kind of thing. They will generally want to look after their wives and their children. It's probably why Brian's come off it at the moment, because he's like, I don't need this shit, possibly. And his wife doesn't, and they're just trying to have a pleasant life and look after the kid, the family. So, and this is how actually a lot of good people will just be like, I've got some people that I know very, very well that have never been on Facebook, that Essex, that know all about all of this, that are not on Facebook, not on social line. They don't need it. They don't draw attention to themselves. So these people that are really trying to kind of stroke their own egos and control things really need to be looked at very, very closely. And the things that Brian has said, the more discrediting, I would actually say that I am 99% sure that the majority of stuff that Brian has said, he believes to be the truth. There was a few things that have like fucked, messed up and all of that, and that's easy done. But in general, it, he's not got the same agenda as other people, and I do believe he wants the truth. And I would also like to reach out to anybody that hasn't been spoken to or has been shut down. Contact me anonymously. Give me a shout. I am very open to hear everything, because I believe that there's so many people that do care about this case, that care about truth and justice, and in general have become invested in not only this case, but much of these miscarriages of justice and police corruption, that when we come together and really, be openly able to talk and debate and not escalate things and elongate things, so that like there's just an awful lot of confusion, an awful lot of banter, and an awful lot of words, and nobody's getting anywhere. An awful lot of people are being fooled and duped by certain people, and they're doing it on purpose, and you can't feel bad about it happening to you, because they're doing it on purpose. So that's the whole ultimate objective. So if it wasn't working on some people, then they wouldn't be any good at it. They are. So I would like everybody to like kind of open your mind about it, and especially the guys that you've been programmed to kind of, oh yeah, like this whole gangster world, crime pays, and you get all the hot chicks, and and you've got the flash cars, and you've got Mustangs in your driveway, and like that kind of thing. It looks all good. It isn't, guys. Women want guys that look after them, love them, aren't philandering. Like children want guys that aren't being adulterers, or just sending their sons off to the local prostitute as their initiation process. This is not. This is outdated, and these things need to change. And I do 100% believe that there's loads of good guys out there. And it is you good guys that can change this mentality. You have to change that mentality of uh that tribal group of guys, all kind of, yeah, fight, 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 and like engaging each other, and instead going, no, like we're gentlemen, and we don't want violence, and we don't want the degradation of women or children, as this is at the root of all these problems in our society. I want to thank everybody that has listened this long and that does care about love, truth, and honesty. And so I do believe that there's so much coming to light in our world right now, and that we all, by coming together, that this energy that we're creating is raising all of our consciousness. And the more consciousness we raise, the more truth we will understand in our heart when we've let go of all that trauma. I love you all. Thank you for listening, and I will keep updating you. Don't worry, nobody's going to get rid of me.